This new Nintendo Switch 2 report is actually crazy, especially considering if you've looked around at the discourse online that may have you believing that the Nintendo Switch 2 is doomed to fail and that nobody's buying this thing, and a lot of people are upset with Nintendo around the price point, the quality of the games, where are the big Marios and Zeldas for the Switch 2, and it seems like online people are just maybe not going out to pick up this system. Yet we do see the system plentifully stocked on store shelves. Granted, it seems like a lot of that stock is indeed moving and rotating through, and Nintendo's own words in their investors meetings were that they were going to try to mitigate scalping at the launch of this console by truly flooding the market to meet demand for consumers, which so far has really been the case for this console launch. And now we have a report that suggests that they may be taking that even further and to crazy levels, which is what we're going to unpack today. So there's a lot of implications for what this could mean for the rest of 2025 and especially 2026 when it comes to game releases and the kind of roadmap that Nintendo may have planned and up their sleeves for Nintendo Switch 2 if these numbers do indeed check out. So we'll unpack all of these details right after a quick word from today's video sponsor. Have you ever checked your bank account and realized you've been paying for something actively for months and months, in my case over a year, for something you're literally not using anymore because of the nature of subscription services nowadays? Well, that is where today's video sponsor, Rocket Money, comes into the equation, because it's an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel unwanted subscriptions, lower certain bills, track your spending, and even build savings goals. After connecting my bank account, I was easily able to see every single subscription service I was paying for month in and month out, all on one screen, and I was quickly able to decide which ones I wanted to keep and which ones I wanted to cancel. It just takes a couple of taps, no awkward customer service calls, no "are you sure you want to leave" pages, it just gets handled. Rocket Money can also help you negotiate bills like your internet or phone plan to try to get you a better rate, and I love how it actually tracks and shows me where my money goes each month. The app breaks everything down into simple categories and even notifies me when a charge is coming up or when my balance gets low, which honestly keeps me from overspending. So if you want to take control of your finances and finally see where your money's really going, join over 5 million members already using Rocket Money. Help support the brands that support me and click the link in the description or pinned comment down below and scan the QR code on screen to try it for free. And if you're happy with it, you can unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/Sunbro. Big thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. All right, so this article comes over to us from Bloomberg and Takahashi Mochizuki nonetheless, which is definitely a storied name with Nintendo reports, let's say. I do think that everybody gets hung up on the fact that they were gung-ho on the Switch Pro or 4K Switch development kits that were in developers' hands. Now, the interesting thing that everybody wants to forget about that is that the OLED model did have one-to-one accuracy with everything else Bloomberg reported about it, with the Surface-style kickstand, the 7-inch OLED display, and literally down to like the minor design changes of the console. That all checked out. What didn't was the 4K support, and I wonder personally if plans may have shifted internally during the real world events that were going on then, and that Switch Pro or more powerful Switch never came to fruition, but maybe was once conceptualized and potentially even to the point where developers had dev kits in their hand. But that's neither here nor there. Whether you want to believe that report or things changing behind the scenes, that's up to you. Nonetheless, Bloomberg has put out a lot of articles about Nintendo, and if they're not accurate, Nintendo will actually tend to go to their corporate social media account and refute the info. But let's talk about what they're claiming here, because you have Nintendo aims to make 25 million Switch 2s to set gaming history. Quite a big headline. Nintendo asked suppliers to produce as many as 25 million units of the Switch 2 by the end of March 2026, setting the company up for a record first year of sales of a console that's already reached high water marks for the global gaming sector. The Japanese company is asking its manufacturing partners to ramp up output, continuing on demand to persist over the coming holidays and into the new year. According to people familiar with the matter, Nintendo, which began assembly of the Switch 2 around the end of calendar 2024, may still adjust the final production figures when it gets a clear reading of the demand during the critical holiday shopping season. And that's the one big asterisk with this entire report. There probably won't be a huge swing in the amount of units that Nintendo actually orders from a finalized perspective from shipping manufacturers and things like that for the Switch 2, but there may be some swing if, let's say, this Pokemon Legends ZA bundle doesn't sell as well over the holiday season as they are expecting. They may pull back some of that forecast, or pull back some of that request rather, of the partners that they have producing this stuff. But if they are trying to ramp up by March of 2026, to orders of like 25 million total units for Switch 2. They definitely think they have a lot in the pipeline that are going to get people out and buying this console. And you have to remember, when we talk about console launches and the numbers so far, Nintendo has set the all-time record for fastest selling console in gaming history with the Switch 2 at this point, and they launched off season. Almost nobody, or potentially nobody, I haven't looked through every console launch to verify this, but typically you do not launch a console in June right at the start of the summer. That is very out of character for any gaming company to pick that season, because summer is a busier season for casual consumers. You go on summer vacation, you're outside more, you're doing things that maybe aren't revolved around being at home as much and being entertained inside your home. Holiday season is where all that stuff changes. Days get shorter, you're inside more. And then obviously, everybody knows Christmas time, people go out and spend their money and buy gifts for loved ones. And that's where Nintendo would really expect to see a resurgence of Switch 2 sales in bulk and in the masses. And regardless of what you might think, I might think, and what everybody online might think about the graphical appeal of a game like Pokemon Legends ZA, it is very much a system seller to the masses. Pokemon is the world's biggest entertainment franchise, and it's just going to move units naturally. And you have, continuing on with the article, as of now, Nintendo is likely to comfortably surpass analyst estimates of 17.6 million devices in the fiscal year ending March, let alone its own much lower public forecast. The people said, asking not to be named, discussing private plans. Nintendo can be expected to sell roughly 20 million units of the Switch 2 this fiscal year based on shipping estimates from its assembly partners, with any leftover consoles in inventory for the next fiscal year. And this is where it really gets interesting for Nintendo's business side of things, because you might not pay attention that much to their stock price and all of that, unless if you are a trader yourself and you try to really look at what Nintendo's trajectory is. But there's plenty of reports about their stock just tanking after the last Nintendo Direct. And well, largely they are rebounding quickly, and they're pretty much in a good place when it comes to their overall numbers. But you can see here the ambitious production plan, which hasn't previously been reported, shows an entertainment giant going all out to secure the success of its flagship device and avoid the mistakes of rivals. Nintendo's future hinges on the $450 Switch 2 being a success, and the company more than doubled marketing spend around the June launch to ensure it gets off to a fast start. Shares in the Kyoto-based company have risen more than 50% over the past year, buoyed by record-setting early sales of the new hardware. Investors have cooled in recent weeks after successive new highs, but the company is still projected to report 68% growth in quarterly revenue when it unveils earnings next month. Many analysts expect it to upgrade its annual forecast then, including for the Switch 2. Nintendo did not respond to a request for comment, as they naturally probably will not, unless we see some kind of refuting information that Nintendo will sometimes do. They don't exactly talk directly to Bloomberg about this kind of stuff, but nonetheless, this is the report going around. And listen, if this is indeed true and Nintendo is actually planning to ramp up to 25 million units by the end of March 2026 in terms of production, that doesn't mean they're all going to be on store shelves and in circulation at that point, but that's what they're ordering to supply for the year of 2026. You would imagine that they know they have some things up their sleeves. From the game side of things, which, I mean, let's talk about. We already have a brand new Mario Kart, which is a flagship system seller. You have a major 3D Donkey Kong game that is legitimately made by the Mario Odyssey team, and while not having the household name selling power of Mario, it's still a big game for Nintendo. We just had Super Mario Galaxy 1+2, which is just a simple HD upres and remaster for people who owned it on the Wii, but people who didn't own it on the Wii, and especially Galaxy 2, missing for essentially 15 years at this point in time. This is a fresh game for a lot of people in this generation, and that's definitely moving the needle a little bit for Mario fans. Pokemon Legends ZA, which is of course a cross-gen title, as is Mario Galaxy 1+2, but you might want to play these games in 4K, and hence you go out to buy a Switch 2, and I'm sure the Pokemon Legends ZA bundle is moving numbers whenever it comes to people deciding to hop into the Switch 2 ecosystem. We're right around the corner from Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment and Kirby Air Riders, and then in December we're going to cap it off with another cross-gen game, but a big one at that, that the core base of Nintendo have been waiting for since legitimately 2017 when we saw the first title splash screen. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will be out December 4th. And then we do know some of Nintendo's early next year already, like Mario Tennis Fever, like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Switch 2 Edition with the Bella Bell Park, extra DLC content. Yoshi's getting a new game. Tamagotchi Life is out next year. Pokopia, which we don't know the release dates on that kind of stuff. The Dusk Bloods from FromSoft, which will be no doubt a big chunk of FromSoft's hardcore audience, which I am part of. I've already picked up my Switch 2 because I'm also hardcore Nintendo, but you get the idea there. We're going to have a section of gamers that will literally go buy a Nintendo Switch 2 because Dusk Bloods is only playable on the Nintendo Switch 2. That's minus anything we know Nintendo's going to start to reveal and announce at the early part of 2026, where we should expect them to hold their next Direct at some time in February, and or if you go off of last year, as late as March, but really no later than that. I mean, they will do a beginning of the year Direct, and they will be outlining more first-party content, and there's going to be some exciting rumors that we're going to talk about on the channel very soon in relation to The Legend of Zelda and its 40th anniversary that's happening next year, and we have no Zelda content right now. Not to mention, we still don't have a 3D Mario. We still don't have an Animal Crossing announced. We still don't have a Smash Bros announced. We still don't have the big Gen 10 Pokemon that there is a whole nother section of the Pokemon community, believe it or not, that will go out and buy that when they may skip a Legends game. So you get the idea, and we're probably learning about that as in February at Pokemon Day, by the way, because yeah, it's pretty safe to say that with all the leaks, it looks like right now, or at least internally when the documents were put out there, that's a holiday 2026 game. So the long and short of it being that Nintendo, contrary to reports online that might have you believe that the masses aren't going out and buying these things, it seems like it's quite the opposite, especially if we were to believe these type of production reports. And we have to all remember, when you are plugged into an online community of any sort, you might feel like the entire world feels like you feel, and that everything you're seeing on your feed and the popular videos that come across your feed is how people view things. We are a very small percentage and chunk of the audience that is out there shopping and buying products in the global economy, and I think that this is one of those reports that honestly reflects that. And funnily enough, I do think that as much as there's been a very big backlash towards Nintendo at the start of their console generation, as prices continue to raise all around them, and if they can maintain that $450 price point for their console hardware, plus put out a ton of first-party quality games for the Nintendo Switch 2 that are exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2, I think we're going to see this tune slowly change over time for Nintendo, and you may have some of the same accounts and even some creators kind of riding the negativity train right now, slowly over the course of time drift into a different lane, let's say. But let me know in the comments down below what you make of this one. Do you think Nintendo's set to make some crazy history in 2026 and literally produce 25 million plus console units? Do you think they have the games to back up that kind of production and actually meet, you know, something like a 20 million unit first fiscal year sales target? Do you think that's out of reach for them at this point? Do you think that this report is maybe just not based in reality and Nintendo isn't ordering anywhere near that many consoles? And what's your experience been with shopping for a Switch 2 so far? Has it been easy to find? I know it has for myself and pretty much anybody I've talked to. Do you think that's an indication the console isn't selling, or Nintendo's actually just doing what they said and meeting market demand? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.